So, all right. I want to call to order this special meeting of the Fairfax County Architecture Review Board. Conduct this meeting with some, there are no members participating.
Not yet, yeah.
I don't know if I have to read any of that actually. Go ahead, Denise.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, I'm not going to. All right. So, with that being said, there are a few items that we do still have to do before we can kick off the meeting. One is that the ARB needs to determine how long members of the public will be able to speak. Very public comment. Public comment.
No
So
public
we
comment.
don't need to do that. Completely out of sorts. Anyways, all right. To begin any one of our meetings, we should point out that this meeting is being recorded. So that does help for anyone who's coming here for workshops. You can always go back and do that once it's uploaded. Questions? With that in mind, we started the meeting reading the statement of purpose and intent of the historic overlay district. Mr. Zellman has offered graciously.
Sure. Historic overlay districts are created for the purpose of promoting the general welfare, education, economic prosperity, and recreational pleasure of the public, for the perpetuation of those general areas or individual structures and premises that have been officially designated by the Board of Supervisors. Historical, cultural, architectural, or archaeological significance. Regulations within such districts are intended to protect against destruction of or encroachment upon such areas, structures, and premises, to encourage usage which will lead to their continuance improvement in a manner appropriate to preservation of cultural, social, economic, political, architectural, or archaeological heritage.
They don't have access to my camera. I said
For such purposes, and to assure that the new
it
structure.
was on there.
Yeah, it should be on.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Zellman.
Yeah, I think.
Jane, can you hear us?
Yes.
All right, there we go. All right, well, and then we've made it so I have to read a few other things. Okay. All right, so thank you, Mr. Zellman, for reading that. To conduct this meeting with some members participating remotely, the ARB needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. First of all, we need to verify that each member participating remotely and the remote participants was clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume in the meeting room, and confirm their location and that the remote participation comports with policy. So, board member, or can you please state for the record your location and why you are participating remotely? Okay.
She's in the corner. I mean, her name is in the corner, so she's logged on. Hey, can you hear us?
Megan on. Jane Williams.
You said it stated for the record.
I've stated it for the record. I guess we'll resume that conversation when Kay returns to us. Kay, if you can hear me, when you are able to hear us and we can acknowledge it, we will go through the process of acknowledging your participation. Otherwise, as stated, this is a special meeting on Architecture Review Board due to the fact that we had a fairly loaded agenda last week. We do need to approve an agenda. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So I would look for a motion from any of the members to approve the agenda. All right, do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Burns. All those in favor of approving the agenda as provided? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion passes. All right. The items on the agenda will be heard in the order in which they are sent. This agenda is specifically for workshop sessions and presentations, so there are no consent calendar items nor items for action. Denise, is there any guests that we need to recognize? Other than folks that are here for their application?
No.
All right, well, then we'll move right to the workshop session. What I would suggest for the presenters for the workshops, if you've come to us before, try to be brief in the presentation and just what's changed, so we can get right to the workshop. If it's your first time here, we usually try to say about 8 minutes for presentation, so then we can jump right into the discussion. So, with that in mind, our first item for review is ARB 23 HOL 29 WS 7318 Ripon Road. This is in the Holland Hills Historic Overlay District. The applicant is proposing a one-story addition to an existing house. There's Carlos Piana that represents the application. Sir.
Scott,
That's all right. Floor is yours. Presentation, I think. You should know what you missed too.
Pulling it up now.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so Kay may be on now.
Yes.
Yes, I am. And I'm trying to mute myself on the computer.
Kay, can you hear me?
I can.
All right, so what I need you to do for me, Kay, is can you inform me of where you are and why you have to be presenting remotely?
I am in Eustis, Florida, apparently in a dead zone. I needing to care for my dad.
Understood. Family care, gotcha. All right. All right. Believe that is it. So, Katie, all I need you to do is turn down the volume on whatever other device you're using, or mute yourself whenever you're not talking. I believe it's star, what is it? Denise, prefer to mute yourself?
It's in the instructions.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna leave this.
Okay, we
Yeah,
have
I'm good.
7 people here. You are doing more important things. You do, if this does not work, you do not have to participate. It's
Okay. Okay, I appreciate that, and I will jump off and, yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you, okay. All right,
All right.
y'all have fun. Bye-bye.
Let the record show that Mr. Pulte has arrived, so we've had an additional member, and Ms. Orr will not be participating due to technological issues. So, sorry there about that interlude, but that doesn't count against your time.
Okay, thank you.
And Denise has your presentation pulled up. Right. And so I know you've been here with us before, so again, you want to walk through what any changes or any revisions, and then we can jump right in.
All right, so after our last meeting, we proceeded with developing the plans toward a permit drawing set and hopefully for final review and approval. And as part of that process, I thought it prudent to revisit the zoning office just to go over everything now that they could see something actually, on paper, just review again with them what we were doing. And in particular, I was not concerned, but I just wanted to get their take on removing part of what was there to create the carport back to what it was. So they were okay with that, but I need to go back a little bit, but I may have told you before that when I initially was engaged for this project, I did look into the zoning, and that's when I found the variance approval from 1956. And I went from the 2nd floor after I found that information to the 8th floor to talk with the planner of the day. And the woman I spoke with assured me that there was not a problem extending that plane vertically that had been, for which the variance had been approved. But the second time I visited the zoning, they had a problem with that. And the woman I spoke with was a little bit more senior person, and she did some research, and she said that you can do a couple of things. One of them is a variance modification, which is basically a variance, but you just ask for things to be added to it. And that's a 4 to 6 month process. We didn't really want to go down that road. But she said the other thing we could do is ask for a zoning ordinance determination, and that's a less than 30-day process. So we're pursuing that to see if we can continue with the other scheme. But in the meantime, we've come up with something as an alternate if that doesn't work. So that's why we're trying to keep the process moving forward. So in this one, we would totally remove the addition, that's pretty much from this point over, totally remove it and rebuild an addition that would meet the setback of 15 feet. So that's the proposal that we have. We should have a plat. The next, that's the demo. We can just use.
There's probably a plot in your application if you want me to look there.
Well, this has the plat, but.
Yeah, I just meant a bigger one.
I thought we had a new
Mhm.
plat.
Mhm.
And
This is the,
that's
that's the presentation that was in the Ignite folder.
the recent one.
It was the one that was in the Ignite folder.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. I mean,
I don't do that, though. It was, but that was the existing plat. We should have had a plat for the new proposal.
Does this look right?
Can you-
Yep.
Okay. Yes, that does it correct.
This is the one that was in.
So here is the 15-foot setback at the rear corner. And because of the house, remember, the addition was perpendicular, parallel with the side, but the house was actually skewed from the side. So we have a little more setback available, and we have more space in the front. So in the plan, in order to partly break up this plane, I've got a cantilever, a 2-foot cantilever in the bedroom that creates a niche for the bed. But that, at this point, would also be 15 feet. So, all right, so then we can go to the,
After this,
yeah, it should be.
right?
That looks like the original proposal. I mean, that's the demo.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same, it's like the same thing. So this is the PowerPoint. How about this? Is it?
Oh, that one. That's it, yes. That's the first floor. Okay. So, so this is the original, not original, but this is the main wall here. And so this is this would be the basement. And we're doing, in order to get enough, square footage in the house, and in order to create a decent bathroom and closet for the primary bedroom, we'd like to do an addition in the back as well. And we're going to step that in because this corner would have to be the back also. Yeah, okay, so this would then be the main level plan with the bathroom and stepping here a little bit, and then this is that cantilever part in the bedroom. As I said, to break up this plane a little bit, and also the stepping back will help eliminate that massive kind of, wall, barrier there, very wall. We have also set this front plane is set back again, the same as we did before. So we continued with the butterfly theme. I thought that worked pretty well in the other one. In this one, because this is narrower than this, doesn't come up in the air as much either. So this would be the front corner here, and then I would like to extend the roof plane so that it covers this, rather than cutting the roof back. So the front would be a little bit more overhang right there, and then that would be key here. And then when you get to this point, because this is the cantilever, so that overhang wouldn't be as much right there, and then it would continue to be more in the back. And we're doing brick on the bottom as there is now, just painted, and 211 on the main part. And then on the addition in the back, flat roof to match flat roof. And some similar we did before with the high windows over top of the bed, and then windows in the bathroom. And we totally get rid of that odd thing at the back. Not that we're going to do that anyway, but I guess I think we didn't do a 3D of this, because I felt that before I understood that made a lot of sense to do it, but I thought that having seen that we could eliminate that step. Right? I think that's
a great explanation of where you're at. So I think to any board members that might have observations or comments to share. Biased idea, knowing that this is one of at least based on a potential zoning variation. Well, before John, I'm not gonna let poor John jump through. I know we're all looking at John. So, but I will say my general reaction, I normally don't like to go first, but I do think this is better than the scheme we were having to deal with before. We were really trying to fit a very interesting peg into a very interesting hole to make it work.
right.
And so I like that we're going back to it. I would like to be able to see initially, if this is the route that eventually goes, the comparison from original to the variants, and kind of see both those kind of things laid against each other, even just graphically, just so I can kind of understand it a little bit better.
Okay.
That's merely just because I want to piece that together in my head.
Right.
But I know from my mind, I feel more comfortable with that. Just knowing that you kind of step back, there's more variation in the facade. So I think the problem with any of these homes is doing something that distinguishes itself, but also doesn't do it so much that it becomes the centerpiece of the house, which is the problem we run into a lot, is any addition suddenly becomes the belle of the ball as opposed to the actual reason everyone bought a house in this neighborhood. So, I mean, my initial reaction as a non-architect, architectural historian is, I think with some polish on the finalizing the design and some of the details, I like that there's that. I also like the butterfly. I think that's a way of also distinguishing it. And I think the way it's approached is done. I think it could distinguish itself along a much more creative addition as opposed to the previous variant. That's my initial reaction based on the drawings. I wouldn't be surprised if my other fellow architects said, "Chris, you're insane." But trust me, the last time I was here was debate over a potential artwork display that was not received well. But
I can give you the try. Yes. The previous scheme that really blew me away because the first presentation and see the second presentation that the great improvement. This scheme probably because I kind of already tied to the previous one, so I kind of hesitated to like it too quick. I actually like the horizontal line you try to bring, and so there's the first floor and then the second floor with the horizontal line, and that kind of to that community in some way. So the bottom line is, I can accept this scheme as well. I cannot say I love it right now, but I did, and I'm okay. I'm okay with
Right.
it.
You're still warming to it, huh?
Yes, I don't like that.
Maybe.
Your project is people.
But it does eliminate I think what you just said better, what I was thinking was there was that wall, which is just sheer wall going straight up. And it just was a huge space. And no matter what you were proposing last time, it just felt like it was making a big, like, prominent wall. And you're right, that line does kind of break it up. Burns.
Yeah, having observed many houses in Holland Hill, don't sit square to the street or parallel to the lot lines. A lot of people decided, I'll just build up that lot line. And suddenly you get houses that have 20. So to a certain extent, this new design undoes decisions that were made in the 1950s.
Right.
That I personally think were unfortunate, and that is they were beginning to allow the house to be by invisible lines in the land, which are the property lines and the setback lines. Right. This you've taken, it's going to cost you some money to do this.
Exactly.
But what it's doing is it's taking a house back and recognizing the original geometry, continuing the original lines, and the house still becomes an orthogonal property as opposed to an orthogonal property with a trapezoid. That's and I like it. The only thing that concerns me from the county standpoint is, does that cantilever have to be 10-6? Given to the
It's not in the setback.
not in the set.
Right.
Cantilever will be okay.
Yeah, so it's the back corner of, this corner is in the setback.
Okay,
Front corner
because the facade doesn't go to the lot
Yes,
line.
yeah.
You've got room
Yeah.
up there to do. Okay. I think that is an improvement. A concern, one small concern is that, your lot is super.
Mhm.
And will the back wall and windows on the back of the flat part of the addition, such as looking into the hillside? I don't know if a slight cant to that flat roof that we see from the front.
Right, okay.
Might give you a little more look up the hill as opposed to look into the hill.
We're gonna be in the back.
But in your upper elevation there, it's just that one little square.
Yeah, that's because it's in the bathroom.
Yeah.
But, I think the grade, this is the grade against the house, so by the time we get out, whatever it is, 16 feet, I think. And the grade is about here, so there's still a good amount before you really look into the hill.
Okay.
It's not, that's a good suggestion.
Okay. But fundamentally, I agree with this.
So one more question.
Sure.
So for you, the two floor plans, they quite different. Which one you feel much work with your life?
But I do like the other floor plan. I think it's a little, this is a little forced, I guess, because we have to put the bathroom out the back. And, the other issue is, yes, this will be more expensive because we have to remove everything that's there. We can't just rebuild on the existing foundation, and we have to add a piece of foundation as well, so.
Yes.
Sir, I think what happens with this new design is that you're extending that wing of the house back. It's a nice courtyard for your entertainment.
Yeah, it really does, you're right.
I think that's the bonus that you get out of this. I don't know what the grade does back in your backyard, but I think it's a win.
Very good.
Don't have anything productive to say.
Okay.
Well, so I guess, but summarizing though, it sounds like we like this concept.
Yeah, it does.
I think this is, well, but if you've got a lot of unknowns, I know you're working with,
Yeah.
particularly with the approval you might have to go.
Oh, and we may not have any choice.
Yeah, but this sounds like you, I mean, I actually greatly appreciate you coming back to us with this proposal because it's more pragmatic than many other applications we see that go away for forever and then come back and then, we have to refresh ourselves and stick like, oh no, here's another idea. Let me be prepared for potential realities.
Mhm,
'Cause
right.
we've got a lot of- I do have to agree, Mr. Pumpy, there are hidden benefits that I guess is the question of, obviously, as the homeowner, you've got to weigh all the pros and cons on it and decide. But I do think he's right, it makes a space in the back. I also think from a exterior appearance, I think it is a much more cohesive house at this point. And so I think that's what I was getting at when I talked about additions. Sometimes an addition suddenly is there and it just dominates the house. And in this neighborhood, in this historic overlay district, it really is the original house that's the speaking point. So this one really kind of complements. This is something we always ask for. We always get designs that complement. Sometimes we're trying to make something that really doesn't. I don't think that saying that we couldn't necessarily get the other concept there, but I think that other concept you're working on probably going to require a little bit more massaging. If that's the way we're going to go. Because I think this one is, hey, we have to go a little bit deeper. We have to really take out some stuff. It's a lot more flexible, but I get on your end as a homeowner, that's cost and that space changes. And so we're not an ARB of interior uses of spaces. We recognize that you have to live in the houses that they are to. Yes, Mr. Wentz.
Listen, one nice question. In your initial presentation to us, you talked about the easement and such. And what is it that the county suddenly does not like?
It's that they were looking for something that denoted what the height approval of the height was, and there wasn't anything in the variance approval that said anything about height. They're concerned that it's what's been approved since it's 5 feet beyond the required setback, that we need to extend that plane vertically, and so that when it gets above the roof that's already there, does it still comply with the variance approval? So, or do we need to set that back 5 feet? And we certainly didn't want to do that because that was really an awful scheme. So what's
My observation would be that is a subjective judgment by someone 70 years after the fact. And what is their legal basis for doing that?
I don't know. I was just told that they've had other.
It was interesting because it seems like there was almost like variance. I don't know enough about variance now that they're saying that it should have had a verticality. It should be all of the dimensions the variance has to consider, and that's almost what they're saying is, we're going beyond what is a height that was not received, but there's no, as Mr. Burns said, there's not really an argument to mention that, but I don't know about variance.
I mean, the simple fact that there was no height restriction on that easement can't be interpreted to say that there is today's standard.
No, I agree.
applied to a 70-year-old easement.
And
that just strikes me as unfair to the homeowner.
Yeah, I think that's why the woman suggested that we get a determination on that. It's not that, but if you did a variance today, usually you have to put a height on it. Okay, we're good?
Yeah, I think, so I guess next step would be either you find out what happens with that variance situation. I think most of us would say that if it's not this that's coming back, then the other one, you probably would encourage you to come back with that whatever concept you're going to revise, you're going with the other concept. So I would give you a lot of feedback on that one. kind of want to see where that evolved as well.
Right, yes, absolutely.
But Denise, I think would be happy to work with you.
Yeah,
depending on what
she's
that
been
scenario
great.
Plays out. So,
I did call her for advice, so.
Yeah. And do remember that there is no August meeting.
Oh, okay,
So the next opportunity is September.
okay,
But that might give you enough time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for
Okay.
your time.
very good, thank you.
all right, our next item for workshop is ARB 23 LFK 05 WS 111 or 1100 Chain Bridge Road. This is a proposed demolition of an existing dwelling, site amenities, and construction of a new dwelling. This is Mr. Jamori. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much.
How are you? Doing all right. I haven't been here for the last two meetings. I feel like I'm getting lucky for my poor board members.
Good evening, everyone. Kayvon Jabori, I'm the project civil engineer, and along my side, Mr. Yusufi, the project architect, is here to answer any questions you may have. As you recall, I was here in front of you in April, and there were significant concerns regarding architectural drawings and facades and all of that. Denise, may I ask you to go to slide 18? We start from there.
There.
So what we did, we went back to the drawing board, and we have, first of all, reduced. One of the comments was regarding the size of the house itself. We have reduced the footprint of the house, including the garage. We brought it down from 7,020 square feet to 5,220 feet. We have, after we go through the elevations, we do a footprint of the first and the second. So we reduced the footprint by 2,500 square foot. I'm sorry, 25%, a little over 25%. We, instead of going through redesigning the whole thing and finalizing the plans, we elected to take your time and we got 6 different elevations, all of the front of the building. To get your feedback, we sort of used, of course, the historic district guidelines, but also we sort of tried to somewhat mimic, if I'm not mistaken, Hickory Hills facade, because that seems to be the keynote. But if I may, I would like to turn the podium to Mr. Yusufi. He being the architect, he can address your issues.
So we came up with 5 different elevations. Kept the guidelines, which is symmetrical elevation, gable roof, and the windows in the 5 houses that I looked at were basically single window, double hung. Try to mimic that as much as possible. So that was the first elevation that we came up with. Next one is pretty much the same, except the shutters and the windows on the top of the roof. So this is basically the same elevation. That's fine. Just to have some other ideas, we just attach the windows. So overall, house is the same. Just the treatment of the windows have changed. It's on the front porch. Same again as the previous one. We just took the porch out, and the door is recessed as the first 2 elevations. And this just will put another brought the foyer of the house outside. Again, overall elevation is the same. the windows remain same. Just simple ideas just to get the feedback as to where we are. These are basically drafts. So where we stand, what you're looking at. So I'll just take it from there.
There's one more after, right? There's another one.
Only there is
Oh, yeah, there's it.
sixth option.
So yeah, it's the same basic what's the front portion. Yeah.
Sure. I'm the licensed architect here. Yes. Why you say it's just elevation?
No, I did not have the layout ready for the presentation that I forwarded. Can I share with you paper copies?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all physically here.
Well,
Definitely. I mean, it's a workshop too, so there's not a, definitely.
would you like to see the comparison between the old and the new? Excellent. So that.
Sure, okay. Any initial comments from the membership on elevation proposal?
My comment would be it's impossible to comment. Understanding the context, the direction it faces, its relationship to the adjacent destroyed property.
Would it work to share, or would you like your own copy? I have enough copies.
Oh, I
already.
can, yeah, doesn't matter.
This is the
Happy to look over.
but if you want to have your own copy.
The idea being this elevation is the one that's going to be facing towards Shane Ridge Road.
That's right.
Correct.
Correct.
Well, I mean, so initial comments, obviously, one, hearing that you've reduced the square footage is huge. That is very, I'm happy to hear that because I think that was a significant concern in April from all of us, was that the house basically was the entire lot. Along with all the driveway spaces and parking spaces, it just became, so that in itself, from my perspective, is encouraging. Looking at just giving my general reaction, I think a lot of this would be helpful for me to understand some measurements and heights, because I think some of the window combinations look better depending on how big that front facade is, just from what are we talking from?
Well, the first floor is 12 feet high, second floor 10 feet. Overall, you're looking at 23 feet from the first floor to the eave. That's the height. The windows at the bottom are 8 feet high, and the one on top are 6 feet high. The width of the windows, I believe, on those are 3'6", each of them. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's helpful. Because that's something so I get to Mr. Burns's comment. This helps me orient this facade on the lot, and that height helps me kind of try to picture this in concept form, because depending on how big those windows are and how tall and how big the floors are and what the overall height of the structure is, obviously, as you know, as an architect, can be pretty overwhelming suddenly or look pretty minuscule. I personally thought initially I liked option one because I feel like
that was my
very
first choice. Yeah.
spaced out, and that's probably I feel is overwhelming. Which the original design just it was big in every direction. Which I mean, hey, you got big clients with Chicago, I can understand.
Yeah,
but this,
right.
I don't have the houses in the historic overlay district in my head right now, the ones that are contributing, because that was something else I was thinking about.
Yeah, I know you had said that you had gone around and looked when you were looking at the windows, and there's options here that have porches and some that just have the recessed door.
That's
Did you notice if other houses, you had porches or what the houses are like in the area?
The ones that were on the list, 1147, I believe, 1101, they had the first option, windows, single windows. I don't remember exactly, but one of them had a small porch on front and the other one, the door was recessed. So we can go either way. The floor plan, if the door is recessed, of course, I'm going to take the door back, keep the front wall the same, just go like that.
On a facade level only, just that to me feels like you could make that it's a big house, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a big house. I mean, obviously, I know with this drawing right here, it doesn't have the pool. I assume you're still building the pool with this lot.
Yes.
Okay, so that'll be back there too. I do like, and I know I'm bouncing around between architecture and site plan, but I see that you're reducing, the driveway looks potentially reduced in size.
Absolutely. It's
Okay.
it's a smaller.
I mean, these are two different printout sizes, so I wanted,
Well, I was waiting for the opportunity to explain. I believe there was some miscommunication in regards with the paper size and the size of the drawing. When I went to pick up the paper, I realized that they just put it on a certain size sheet instead of having them identical scale.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like the driveway's halved.
Yes, and if you notice, the retaining wall that is along Georgetown Pike is set back 10 feet.
But as I said, I don't live in this area, but I think Georgetown Pike is just as busy as Chain Bridge Road.
That portion of Chain Bridge Road is actually not very busy.
Okay, because my concern was, and again, I'm just showing us the front elevation, what's the elevation of the garage? Because you have a second floor. Big siding. Interesting to see that facade eventually. Right now,
Absolutely.
compared to the first facade, the front facade approved, so we ought to do the other facade.
Yes, yeah, please.
I personally like what's on the screen because it seems to be more. Doors are way too small to put doors on. Don't put them on.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand.
I think it's better without the dormers.
Yeah, I
The
couldn't
dormers
hear
should
it.
be very, very small, like they should be on the 60-foot wide town. One for the site plan, positioning, I'm anxious to see the landscaping, to see how it's screened and so forth. Don't remember if there's any existing trees.
There are a few in the
Right at the
back.
corner, I see.
Based, if we intend to keep the same limits of disturbance, to be very honest with you, the house is smaller, there is less paved area, but basically the limits of disturbance
That's
isn't
fine.
going to change much.
That's fine. You are keeping the grandfather trees at the corner.
Correct.
So the shutters, I know there are houses in this area that have shutters. But again, I think that you showed that option. I don't know, I felt like it was trying to go too far, leaning into elements, and that's just my initial reaction on it. And that's when I first saw the dormers, like kind of the same one Mr. Plum did, which is dormers, like, wow, these are baby dormers, that still got to grow up.
I was gonna say with the shutters, I was gonna say, I mean, I have shutters in my house with the functional, they actually are the right dimensions to be put. These look like little baby shutters on big windows. Shutters looks better unless you, there's the windows of this shutters look like they act.
Got to make the shutters that large to cover the window, then we'll be touching.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying, I think.
So just eliminate the shutters.
That's what I think me and Strip have the same mindset there. That it seems a token gesture to put a shutter that doesn't really. And then thinking of the other properties here, one of the big features on some of them is a prominent porch. And so in my mind, I think part of, I'm of two minds on this. I can't decide how, because in one sense, it might be nice to have a porch, if you're saying that, this view on the Chain Bridge is not very busy, then, you have porch space. But a small entry porch really doesn't do much with that, so it not being, one of the options where it's not so grand, I think is better, it's more subdued, as opposed to if it were a porch you could actually put chairs on, I think that's something, like the ordinary, I think a lot, but I don't know if that's something that's in vogue anymore. No one seems to-
And this is the Fourth of July ceremony.
Yeah.
It helps shape
I'm just thinking out of the idea of the other properties in this district.
Right. I was gonna say, so Georgetown Pike is busier than Cambridge.
That portion of Chain Bridge for sure. That portion of Chain Bridge is a cut through.
That's why, to me, it's the back elevation and the side elevation.
More important.
And the ground plane. That's good to be.
We will be screening. Part of the reason I pulled the wall in is we will do screening along the top of it. I think the eventual intent is the house will not be visible from either road. But I'm not asking you to change your thoughts.
So I go there, I don't see any.
You'll see a lot of trees.
10 feet tall, as
Uh,
opposed to, or actually 6 feet tall trees, is
uh,
pretty quick trees.
My client has a tendency to start
Go large.
at eight feet or something.
Well, it'd be interesting too to see what your facade elevation material. is,
Absolutely.
Especially on the side and the back, if it's not, living vinyl site. But siding would be great to see.
Sure.
You can say while you're running on the one on the left-hand side.
All the beds would be on that.
Yes, yes, you can just put all the beds and all the, no windows on that side.
No, I agree, Mr. Mulvey. When we had the last meeting, that was the challenge with this lot is that you're dealing with two primary directions that,
Sure.
and that this house is, if you get to a design, like if you take option one, what is option one going to look like on that facade as well? And I definitely, I make the joke about that wall, but that's what I would be worried about if it becomes a wall of siding, and it isn't actually have an actual kind of, or does a logical window fashion. Instead, it's all chaos, which we've seen plenty of times, floating windows